Welcome to the Raven Knoll Show. I'm your host, Raven C. Knoll, known as the Soul Physician. I'm a wife, mother, counselor, mindset plus life coach, and speaker, and this is episode number 13. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast. I'm so glad to have you, and a special shout out to the RCN Pod Squad, who are my faithful listeners week to week. I mean, y'all rock so hard. Listen, thank you so much for tuning in and just taking this journey with me. So today I'm going to be diving into the concept of success a little bit. So we're still in this Truth Serum series, and I thought this would be a really great topic to chat about because of everything that literally just happened this past week with the actor Will Smith at the Oscars. Now, I'm sure you all have heard about it. So by the time you hear this episode, it'll be about a week or two since that incident actually happened, but it'll still be pretty fresh. So now, like I said, most of you probably have already heard about it or seen it live. But for those who haven't heard about the incident, what took place was the comedian and actor Chris Rock was on stage at the Oscars, and he was doing what, all comedians do, cracking jokes at people. That's just kind of how stand-up comedians do things. And Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith were sitting right in the front row, close to the stage, because Will was nominated for an Oscar for playing the father of Serena and Venus Williams in that movie, Richard. And so Chris Rock made a joke about Jada, something about her being a good fit for the G.I. Jane movie role or something like that. But long story short, Jada and Will did not take that too well because Jada has lost a significant amount of hair due to her diagnosis of alopecia disease. Now, she's completely bald now. And so the reference could seem like he was making fun of her situation. It's not clear if Chris Rock was being insensitive and knew about the disease or not. But Will Smith walked on stage at the Oscars during the live broadcast and literally slapped Chris Rock across the face. Very hard, very intentional for the whole world to see. Now, I'm not here to have a gossip session about that or take sides. I don't support violence in any way, but I do think that there are some good lessons, or one main lesson to learn from this situation that I really want to touch base on today quickly, and that being that success is internal and not external. And the best way to actually win is to win from within. Now, there are two different ways that night could have gone or played out. One, the way it actually went, where Will won an Oscar, but he lost in his ability to successfully control his actions and his emotions, which is a response that starts internally, okay? So Will Smith, like you've seen, he had a very impulsive reaction to the situation that took place with Chris Rock making jokes or cracking jokes at Jada Pinkett Smith. And so he did not successfully control his actions in that moment, and he did not successfully control his emotions in that moment. Instead of thinking it through, it looks like he was a little bit more reactive than reflective regarding the best way to react to that situation. Now, two, this is the way that it should have gone, okay? Where Will won an Oscar and he controlled, like I said, his impulses and his emotions in that moment, to Chris Rock's comment, allowing him, listen to this, it would have allowed him to freely bask in his victory without backlash, embarrassment, negative media coverage, and everything else that came with what happened during, that live stream of television. It all was live. Now, I do understand his willingness to desire and his desire to protect his wife and how he wanted to make sure that he kind of shielded her or whatnot, but how he went about it was not wise. And now he has to face the consequences of those unwise, impulsive decisions. So in both scenarios, Will would have won the Oscar regardless because he's a fantastic actor. He's had numerous movies that he's been in that I personally love. He was well deserving of winning that Oscar for Richard because I really do believe that he embodied that character really well. And you can tell that he put a lot of effort and he put a lot of, just of his skill set and talent over the years. It really shined through. So he was very deserving of that award and winning that Oscar. But imagine the amount of internal turmoil that's coming with one bad decision that could have been avoided had his success been internal and not just external. Now, I don't want you to start judging Will and saying, you know what, Raven, you right, because Will, he could have done a lot better. He was wrong for that. We do all these things in our head, and some people were like, Will, you should have slapped him. There was just all these different feedback just pertaining to what side of the spectrum you're on. I personally don't support violence. I do believe that he could have had a conversation with Chris Rock offline, or confronted that situation a little bit differently, not live on television in a very volatile way. I don't believe in that. I think that there's other ways to go about it. But I don't want you to judge Will and you start puffing up and putting your shoulders back like, Will, what was you doing? Because Will could be you on any given day if you don't recognize the importance of doing the inner work to, number one, resolve past pain. Because I guarantee you, Will's reaction was a buildup. It was not something that just happened. It was a buildup of stress, frustration, and humiliation from the past. That reaction was not from one joke or cracking one joke. That was a reaction that was a buildup of pain inside of him, and probably also some of the pain that he's witnessed Jada go through. So there was a lot that he was carrying that caused him to react like that. And like I said, he could be you if you don't resolve past pain for yourself, because there could be a lot that is built up within you, a lot of stress, a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, a lot of rejection, a lot of all kind of things, frustration and humiliation for yourself, that at any given moment you can crack under the pressure as well. So that's something to note. And then also, if you don't recognize the importance of commanding your emotions and having command over your emotions, because understanding that you don't have to give in to how you feel. You actually have the ability to control your emotions. They don't control you. And when you have a realization of this and you really step into this truth, it's a game changer when it comes to your reactions and your impulses. But it really does take you to grasp the discipline that is necessary to actually control your emotions. Because I've laid this foundation before, and I say this so much in a lot of the things that I teach and a lot of things I talk about, but it's like going to the gym. You can build that strength and you can build that momentum and you can build that ability, but it takes discipline. And it's important though, because as a woman who is high achieving and a woman who is goal driven and a woman that's professional and a woman that's a business owner, whoever you are, you have to have better control of your emotions, because when you don't, things like this happen. And even though, you may not see yourself winning an Oscar, or maybe you do, whatever your situation is, wherever your career aspirations are, regardless, you can crack under the pressure where you allow your emotions to get the best of you and you don't get the best of them. You get what I'm saying? So it's important that you understand that inner work that's necessary for you to learn how to command your emotions and have command over your emotions. It's a non-negotiable. You have to be able to do that if you're going to continue to excel in any area of your life. And then lastly, that inner work is important so you can grow in your emotional intelligence. So when you're more aware of what could happen or possibly could take place when you're pushed to your limit, that's important. Now, it's been rumored that there's been some issues between Chris Rock and the Smith family. I don't know how true it is, but let's just say it is true. Now, maybe if Will was more aware of his intense frustration towards Chris Rock, he probably should have or could have arranged that when Chris Rock was on stage doing his, comedic number, that he would leave the auditorium or maybe take a bathroom break so that he didn't get himself in a situation that he couldn't get out of, right? And so when you have high levels of emotional intelligence, that's how you think. You start to think ahead. Okay, if I'm in this situation, how could I react, or how could I change the situation to work for my favor and not necessarily end up in a situation that I don't want to be in? When you have high levels of emotional intelligence, there's a high level of awareness, a high level of self-awareness. And so you know how to maneuver and you know how to kind of, be proactive rather than reactive with a lot that happens in life, okay? So I want you to be able to see yourself in Will Smith. You may never find yourself, like I said, in a situation like the one that he was in. But I want you to see the principle behind all of this. He won externally, okay? He won an award externally, but he lost internally. And now that internal failure is completely overshadowing his external success. I mean, everywhere you turn, you're seeing this Will Smith slap Chris Rock, or you're seeing another news station or some type of social media gossip page or whatever displaying what happened, people's reaction to it, other celebrities' reaction. Now you're seeing things of his movies being put on hold and all kind of things that they're saying they're going to cancel, all kind of stuff that they're saying will happen and putting a real focus on. But I have yet to see any real focus put on the fact that this man won an Oscar for the work that he did in King Richard. That's the name of the actual movie. I've been saying Richard the whole podcast, but the movie is called King Richard. So that's what's happening. You're seeing everywhere you turn, he slapped Chris Rock, and this is what happened on the Oscars, and they're canceling this, and people are saying this about him, and they're saying it was disgusting, and they're saying it was X, Y, and Z. But I don't see anything celebrating the fact that he won this Oscar. So I've seen a lot of celebration before his internal failure. But once he had his internal failure, I have yet to see any real celebration of that external award that he just won. So again, he won externally, but lost internally. And now that internal failure is completely overshadowing his external success. This is the undeniable proof, okay, that you need internal success, because at the end of the day, it's always going to overshadow anything externally. At the end of the day, no matter how far you go in life, no matter what you do in life, if you fail internally and it's visible, people see it, people recognize it, they're always going to hold you accountable to that. It's going to always overshadow your external accomplishments and the things that you've set and done in this world, in your purpose, in your career, all of that's going to be overshadowed by that one or two or three internal failures. So I just wanted to share that on this podcast today because I thought it was a very good place of reflection. And I'm going to let y'all chew. I'm going to let you chew on this episode, okay? Because I'm telling you, it's a really good point. It is a really good point of reflection for you to see yourself in Will Smith, not to point the finger, not to judge, not to make it seem like, oh, he's this horrible person, because Will, in all honesty, he's been a great character of success for the Black community and men for years, Black men for years. He's been a great reflection of what it looks like to succeed as a Black man, family wise, before a lot of the other stuff came out about his family. But he's been overall throughout the years, his character has really been intact. And so it was a failure that happened, but just like you, again, something could happen where you have had your character intact for years, or you've been a great template of success, or you've done great things in your career, or you have all these goals or all these accomplishments or all these awards that you've been able to complete or do or receive. And then it all can fall when you don't put the necessary focus on the importance of doing the internal work. All right? All right, y'all. I'm going to let y'all chew on this episode because I'm telling you, if you can see yourself in Will, it'll really help you make some changes that you possibly need to make as well to invest more in that internal work. All right? Until next time, I'll talk to you in the next episode. This has been the Raven Knoll Show. Thanks for listening. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to this podcast so you're the first to know when new episodes are released. And don't forget to leave a review. If you can't wait until the next show, follow along on Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter at RavenCKnoll for more tips and to keep the conversation going. Go ahead and DM me on Instagram or take a screenshot of this podcast and share it to your IG stories. I want to know about your takeaways from the show. Don't forget to tag me and use the hashtag RCNPodSquad. Lastly, visit my website at ravencnoll.com and join my email list to get exclusive bonuses only for my email subscribers. Thanks again for rocking and rolling with me. I'll talk to you soon.